So I am going to share my screen here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first talk about the syllabus. And what I have up here on Blackboard now is the first page. It says syllabus. And what I am about to show you is up on Blackboard. So everybody should have access to Blackboard already. If you have trouble accessing that, please let me know. I can try to help you. But there's a little tab on the left that says syllabus, and it's in a Microsoft Word, DocX, and PDF. So I strongly suggest that you download that and have it on your own, so you can kind of read through it, don't lose it. If you want to print it out, you can do that. But everything I say kind of moving forward will be about that syllabus. I also want to note that I don't have everything, all the schedule yet. The schedule is at the bottom. I only have the first month, and that's because I kind of want to know what you all need from me as an instructor before I have it mostly planned. I have it like July 90% planned, but there are a few days where I'm not sure what would be best suited for those class periods. And so I really want to read your writing, get to know you a lot better before I make those decisions and what we really need to do what would be best utilized during those class periods. So the first page of the syllabus, again, you can look at this on your own. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Is I have a index. So if you ever get lost, get confused, there is a lot of information on this syllabus. There is an index that says what is on in each page and in the order it's at. So if you forgot, like how we're going to do peer review, you can go to page 3. If you forgot about, the points breakdown, you can go to page 4. And so if you forget anything, you can look at them. This class will be scheduled for Mondays through Thursdays. So it's Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9:25 to 10:45 a.m. So it's 8 weeks. So that means in a normal, like fall or spring, a normal 16-week class period, what would be 1 week, in our 1 week is 2 weeks. So by Thursday of this week, we will have already done what I normally would have done 2 weeks in a 16-week class. So it's going to go by really quickly. It's really important to be here every day, to ask questions if you need to, and to make sure that every day is utilized the best we can. I don't have a physical office, and I don't necessarily have specific office hours, but I am going to be available if you need to. So if you would like to request a conference like outside of class on Zoom, we can make that happen. Just email me, let me know. I would prefer, a little bit of advance notice. So I usually have something I'm doing after class. So if it's another appointment, I have other students I'm taking care of, other things I'm teaching this summer. So in the mornings, I have nothing going on. So before this, so if you would like to meet at like 9 or 8:30, that's best for me. However, if that doesn't work for you, I probably won't. There are some days that I might be able to meet directly after class, but there's a lot of days that I won't. So I might be able to meet you like later in the afternoon or the evening. So we might be able to do that as well. But it's appointment only, but that doesn't mean I can't meet with anybody. Just send me an email, say, hey, I need to talk to you. Or ask me during class or something, and we can make that happen. There are 2 textbooks that you're going to need. Some of you, I don't know if you got them already. I have the ISBN numbers if you need to purchase them still. I don't know, through the textbook services at Lewis and Clark or through another means. The first one, I'm going to hold up to the screen right to camera. I don't know if you can see that. It's always backwards because it's a camera, but it's called a pocket style manual. This is all about research, MLA format, anything else that you might need to know. There's a lot about thesis statements and writing in general. So this is going to kind of be like our composition book. So you're going to need this one, and this is, by Bedford St. Martin's 8th edition, and I have the ISBN number right down here. So if you want to like copy and paste that into Amazon or somewhere else, wherever you buy that from, you can ensure that you have the correct edition, because textbooks like this just have a million editions, and sometimes you accidentally buy the older one, not knowingly. There's too many. Writing doesn't change that much. And then the second one, which we're going to need most immediately, is going to be this one. I know you can't see it real well because it's backwards, but it's called the Compact Bedford Introduction to Literature. This one we're going to use both. We're going to use the literature one the most. We're going to use it most frequently, most often, because this is a literature class that we are going to be reading a lot of literature. We're going to be writing about literature, which is why I asked you what you like to read. And so that is going to be the most immediate. So I would suggest getting those as soon as possible if you haven't already. If you have any questions, if you have trouble getting them, let me know. I can try to help you if I can, but both ISBN numbers are needed. If you have the choice, if you can't get both at the moment, if you need to get one first and not the other, choose the literature one first. I don't care if you get them physical copies online, if you want to get like an ebook or something, whatever works for you. I, as personal preference, love to read physical copies. I'm on the computer enough when I'm reading. I want it to be out of a hard copy, but you may be different. If you have like some type of device, like a Kindle or something, and you're perfectly fine like having it on that device, go for it. Do what works best for you, as long as you have access to it. That's what you need, as long as you have access to it. If you have questions too, please just let me know. If you want to unmute yourself, interrupt me, put in the chat, whatever. Does anybody have any questions so far? Sorry, my coasters just fell.
Do we have to write any, will we be writing any papers, like research papers?
Yes, I'm gonna get to that in 1 second. We are gonna read a lot. The whole semester is gonna be about writing. Reading and writing, that's what we're gonna be doing. Yes, we will be writing papers. So give me 1 second. It's an excellent question. So let me skip down to answer that question. I'm gonna come back to page 2. Give me a second, page 2. So you are gonna be rating 3 major essays, and they're gonna be the bulk of your, the grade for this class. The first 2 are going to be shorter, and we're going to do those in June. So those are going to be shorter. So the whole Lewis and Clark requires each paper to be about some aspect of literature. So we're going to start with short fiction. So they're going to start reading short stories. And then we're going to read drama, which is a play. And then the third paper will be about poetry. The third paper will also be a research paper. So we're not going to start off with research quite yet. We're going to focus a little bit on MLA format, but we're not going to be necessarily researching until July, but then it'll be a lot of research. That's not going to happen. So we're going to start out as slow as we can. We can't really go that slow because, we got 2 weeks in one, but I'm gonna try. Trying my best to do what I can. So if you want a grade breakdown, again, I'm gonna go back up to page 2 in a second. On page 4 is kind of the grade breakdown. So essay 1 and 2 are with 100 points each because they're shorter. They're about 750 words. There's no research, so they're worth fewer points. This is all out of 1,000. So this is all of 1,000 points. So like 100 points is 10% of your overall grade. And essay 3 is going to be worth a lot more. It's going to be worth 250 points. And because it's going to be like 2,500 words, and these word counts are not my choosing. They are required by Lewis and Clark. I have to do them. So in the essay number 3, which will be kind of at the end of the semester, that'll be most of what July will be focused on that paper, and everything, about that paper. That's going to be really important. According to Lewis and Clark, again, not my rule, Lewis and Clark states that if you earn a D or less on that final paper, that you cannot pass the class, no matter what you did. So that final paper in July is going to be really important, but everything we do in June is going to help with skills for that paper, except for the research. We'll do that more in July, but thesis statements or language, word choice, analysis, paragraph formation, kind of working on those with the first 2 papers to build up to the second paper. So those are going to be really, really important. And then there are 2 explications, which they're smaller papers that you will literally put in your third paper. So they're going to be also writing shorter assignments, not necessarily formal essays, but I will definitely talk more about what those are in July when we get to them. But if you can see, most of the class is writing in some sort. And that a lot of requirement from Lewis and Clark. And so last fall when I taught this, I actually had 4 papers. Normally, if I had a lot more freedom, I would just do 2, one in June and one in July. But I had to kind of work a lot to even get down from 4 papers to 3. And so I definitely, it's again, yeah, it's going to be a lot of writing in a very short period of time because we're doing 2 weeks in one. And so going back to page 2, so English 132, hopefully kind of building off the skills learned in English 131, talking about writing style and processes, kind of reading secondary sources, which will be that research we talk about for the 3rd paper. Thinking about audience awareness, so who you're writing for, not just what you're writing about, who you're writing for, and then research techniques. I'll talk about plagiarism a little bit more when we get to later in the syllabus because I have more on here. And this is kind of summary of what I just said. Analyze a lot, so we'll read a lot, analyze a lot of what we write. Think about the whole writing process, plan, write, revise, kind of whole developed essays. The 2 papers that are shorter, the first 2 papers will be minimum 750 words. It can be more than that if you want, so they'll be definitely shorter. And so kind of get our feet wet, thinking about analysis and writing in general. Think about all the skills that have to do with writing, kind of brainstorming, revising, because most, if not all, writing that we do isn't just one draft and we're done. There's a lot of editing, which is grammar, revising, which is kind of deleting or moving parts of the paper around, thinking about thesis or revising the thesis. A lot of it has to do with that. And then again, the last paper, which will be a minimum 2,500 words. And so that'll kind of be the really, really big one for the whole semester. And so we will do peer review to kind of help with the writing process. Every paper will have 1 peer review. Will you email me the night before? I'll put it together. We'll also do conferences with each paper. So every paper, there'll be at least 1 day where we have one-on-one conferences between me and you. And then there'll be another day where we have in peer review, where you kind of look at your other peers' writing of the same paper that you're currently doing. So every paper will have that. Any other questions so far? I don't want to like rush anything. If anybody has another question. Yeah. So I talked about the essays. I talked about explications that will tie into the 3rd paper. Next assignment that we'll do, we'll focus on reading, because reading and writing really go together. The more you read, ideally the better writer you will be. You'll learn more vocabulary, you'll kind of learn more audience styles, you'll learn more genres. Really, reading and writing go together extremely well, and they're both very important together. So complex book entries are going to help with MLA format, research, and reading. So complex book entries, you will have 8 of them throughout the semester, and if I have time today, I'll kind of more formally assign them, but I plan on talking more about this tomorrow morning at the beginning of class. So they're small assignments, so you have 8 of them, and for every complex book entry you do, for the assigned reading, you will cite that source in MLA format, and you will find 3 quotations in that source that you find interesting in some way, and then you will write at least 1 paragraph per quote, expanding on that, analyzing it, and kind of engaging in it a little bit more. And that's to help you, 1, learn MLA format, because we're going to need it for July. So if we do those complex book entries, most of them will be in June. Kind of get your feet wet, thinking about MLA format. Ideally, by the time you submit that final paper at the end of July, you will have a much stronger idea of how to do MLA format because you've been doing it all along in June. So that's one goal. The second goal is to think about research. So when you're doing research and for your final paper in July, a lot of what it is picking out quotes, thinking about how they are relevant to your paper. And so by picking out 3 quotes, it's kind of starting that process of asking yourself, well, why did I choose this quote? Why is this quote important here? And then that paragraph that you do is kind of like an annotation. So if you've ever annotated before, maybe you've highlighted something in a book, or maybe written like notes on the side, that's an expanded version of that. So why is this quote interesting? So stopping to pause, what does it remind you of? Maybe it reminds you of an experience you or someone you know have had. Maybe it reminds you of a class you took. Maybe it reminds you of a movie you watched, and anything at all you can really think about in relation to that. I don't really care what you write about, as long as you're moving beyond the quote. You're not just simply summarizing, you're expanding, you're kind of thinking deeper about that quote. So that will help us think more deeply about what we're reading. So we have also deeper class discussions, because everything you have a Complete book on, a Complete book entry on, will be due for reading that day, and we discuss that reading in some shape or form. It will be helpful for that. So every Complete book entry we will do literally the minute before class starts. So this class starts at 9:25. Complete book entries will be due at 9:24. So the minute before class starts, that's what it's due, right before class. So you have read it, you've thought about it more deeply, and then we can really get into that a little bit more deeply during the actual class discussion, help you. So if you go down to the kind of last page of the schedule, so again, that starts on page 7, you'll see the very first Complete book entry is due on Wednesday. Now, again, if this was like a 16-week class, that Wednesday would be the start of the second week. So we got today is syllabus introductions. Tomorrow I'm going to go over MLA format. So if you've never done MLA format before, or if you have trouble with it, we're going to go over it. If you have done it before, it'll be a refresher. And we'll maybe do an example Complete book entry if we have time. I don't know if we will or not. But the second one will be for the Compact Bedford Introduction to Literature, which is why it's really important to get that book soon, if you haven't already. And so we have lots of different pages. They're all really short, but essay number 1 is going to be about short fiction. So the first reading from that is going to be an introduction to all of the like specific aspects of fiction and literature that you need to know to write your first paper. And so that's going to be introducing essay number 1, thinking about all these. You don't have to pick 3 quotes from all of these sections. It's pick 3 quotes from any of them. It could be a quote from 3 sections. It can be 3 quotes from the same section, whatever you want to do. But you can just cite one of them if you want. You'll be citing your textbook in general. And then we'll have another one on Thursday. And I'll talk about that a little bit when I talk more about Blackboard. Any other questions at this point about anything I just talked about? As I drink some water. Okay, annotated bibliography will be for your third paper 2. It will be to help you break down your research, think about that, the research that you specifically do for your third paper. And then the portfolio will be the very final assignment you do for the semester. Will you reflect on a lot of what you've done throughout the semester, my comments, and you'll also have the ability to revise, not originally submit, but revise any of the essays you've done, the essays 1, 2, or 3, for a potentially better grade. So don't just like not submit any of your essays throughout the semester and submit them all at the portfolio at the end of the semester. I won't accept them. It's, I got this paper, I didn't get the grade I thought I would get, and I need to do a little bit more work on it. Here's a second chance to do over. So the portfolio is not an initial submission, it's a do-over for those papers if you didn't do as well as you originally thought. And that'll be the very end of the semester. I talked about peer review a little bit earlier. Each peer review will be worth 10 points of the overall essay grade. So if I said number 1 is worth 100 points, that peer review will be worth 10. So the overall final draft of the paper will be worth 90. So if you don't do the peer review at all, the best grade you can get is a 90%, and that's if you get a full grade. So I will kind of break that down when I grade everything. And so peer review is based on, I'll have a due date, you'll email me your rough draft of the paper the night before. Will put it all together before class that morning. And then I'll have a specific like question guide that you could ask and you'll comment on them. And if we need to, we can put each other in like Zoom breakout sessions. If you want to talk about your papers a little bit more, that can help. But generally, those 10 points are submitting your essay yourself and providing specific feedback for your classmates. If you don't submit a paper, you're not going to get the full 10 points. If you submit a paper and you don't comment on each other's papers, you're also not going to earn the full 10 points. So you got to do both. And so that can be a way. Peer review is really helpful. I've been doing it for years. It helps writers be able to see what other people are doing. And I'll provide an example essay, especially for the first few papers, but it can be really helpful to look at somebody else's paper who is writing the same assignment in the same time period that you are. And if you can identify maybe some of the aspects they're doing well or need to work on, then ideally you can more easily identify how you can also improve on those skills as well. And so kind of looking and reflecting, and then also getting feedback from your classmates and getting help with your paper. Blackboard will be extremely helpful this semester. So I'm going to kind of run through this here. So if you haven't logged on Blackboard, it's really important that you try to today. If you haven't tried, do that again, do that today. If you can't log on, let me know as soon as possible. Please, please, please. So the Zoom access information, hopefully, ideally you all found this and you got my email from Friday because you all are here, so that's good. But yeah, it's never gonna change. This is gonna be the same Zoom link throughout the entire semester. The only reason it would change if for some reason we had technological issues and this link broke, but I don't foresee that happening. But minus any technological issues, this will be the same one we use every week, okay? If I ever also have any recordings of class periods, I will also upload them to this link here. So anything Zoom related will go into this. The syllabus I talked about earlier, again, you can download this yourself. Announcements, when I email the entire class, I will email as an announcement because emails get lost. If the college is emailed a lot, if you have other classes and all those professors are emailing you a lot of times, sometimes your inbox can just get really full and sometimes you might miss something. I don't want anybody to miss anything. So if I email an individual, it won't show up here. You want to check your email quite a bit. But if I email the entire class, I will send it as an announcement. So by the end of the semester, every single email I send to the entire class will show up here. Okay, any single email I send to everybody. Email, it's there. So if you like, my email is at the very top of the syllabus. So if you ever don't know how to reach me, my email's right up at the very top. So you can copy and paste that into your Lewis and Clark email. Also, if you email me, please use your Lewis and Clark email. Don't use your Gmail or your personal email. Please use your Lewis and Clark. That's what I will be using as well. But if you need to email me, I think you can just click all instructor users and this will email me as well. So I would try to use your email, your general email first, but if you have a problem with email for some reason, you could also do it through Blackboard. The complex book entry tab, and these are all on the left-hand side here. This is where you will submit your complex book entries that I just described. So I haven't formally discussed the assignment sheet. If I have time at the end of the class, I will do that. If I don't, I'll do it tomorrow. But that will be the assignment sheets up here. And all of the complex book entries are all ready to go. There are 2 that I don't have planned. That's when we do poetry. And I want to get to know you all a little bit better before I decide which poems we're going to read. So that's why they're TBA. But once we kind of get through the semester a little bit, I'll think about some poems that we can read together. And I think that will be interesting for all of us. So for example, the first complex book entry, this is getting in my way. It says, so you'll click on this box and then it's a journal entry. So journal is like a discussion board, but the big difference is that your classmates won't see what you're writing. So the only person who will read this is me. And so if you click create journal entry, you can kind of write this in the text box here. And so if you write it like in Google Docs or Microsoft Word or somewhere else, you can copy and paste that to this text box. please, I would say these are the only assignments I would ask not to upload them for, just because it's really a lot easier for me to grade them if I can just directly see if I don't have to download them all. It just makes it a lot easier. If I can go back. But right here, I have all of the information you'll need. So I have the due date. For example, this is due Wednesday, June 9th by 9:24 a.m. for these chapters. I even say you only have to find 3 quotes and write 3 paragraphs regardless of which section those quotes are from, which I said earlier. These are the same ones on the syllabus. So all of this information is in 2 places: the schedule at the bottom of the syllabus and the Complete Book Entry tab on Blackboard that I'm showing you right now. And so all of them except for the last 2 about poetry are already here with the names and with the names of everything. If anything isn't in your textbooks, you will find it under the assigned readings tab. So there are some that I don't have in the textbook. Some of them will be, some of them won't be. But if they aren't in the textbook, they're going to be a PDF on Blackboard here. Okay, they're going to be up here. So it's going to be in 1 of 2 places: one of your textbooks or the assigned readings tabs. And so there are also 2 readings tabs right next to each other. Assigned readings means that I have assigned this reading for you to read outside of class. More than likely, anything under this tab, there's a commonplace book entry for. Okay, so assigned readings. In-class readings and activities is anything we do in class. So anything we do in-class writing for, anything I upload to read and I talk about during class will be here. Okay, so for example, tomorrow we're going to be talking about MLA format. I have the PowerPoint already. I have the PowerPoint already uploaded on Blackboard under here. Everything else I have ready, but I just haven't made access to yet because we haven't gotten there. And then assignments, will be any formal essays will be due. So Complete Book entries will be to submit only those entries. And then assignments will be really anything else. So I have the essay. Don't have them available to you yet because I haven't assigned them. But anti-bibliography, the 3 formal essays, anything else will be under the assignments tab. So assignments, Complete Book entries is what you will do for the readings. Assignments is everything else: essays, anti-bibliography, portfolio. Assigned readings will be anything that you have that's not in the textbook that you have scheduled to read outside of class. And in-class readings and activities is anything we do during class. You can also see your grades at any time. Of course, there are no grades right now. On Blackboard, anytime during the semester if I have it graded already. So that will keep updated. So at any point, you can go on Blackboard and see where you are. If you have a question about any of that, let me know. Let me go back here. Hold on, see if there's anything. Does anybody have any questions at this point about anything I just talked about? I think I went too far. I did. So that was Blackboard. Email. It's going to be really important to check your email at least once every weekday. I say this even if I teach a 16-week class. This is going to be even more important now when we meet 4 days a week. So this means Monday through Friday, check your Lewis and Clark email at least once a day. If I need to cancel class for some reason, I can't see any reason I would cancel class unless I was feeling sick. That would be the only reason I would. So if I just don't feel good enough to teach, I wouldn't. I would cancel, but I don't cancel class that often. If I was changing a due date, I was changing something in the class, I'm going to email you. Okay, so for any reason, I'm going to email you. If I, like, for example, you submitted something on Blackboard, but I don't have access to it. Like if you submitted maybe an essay, a lot of people have submitted essays on Blackboard, but maybe it's like a format I can't access it in. I can't actually view it. I'm going to email you and I'm going to ask you to re-upload it. If I, haven't heard from you in a while, maybe I'll email you, check in, say, hey, how you doing? I'm not going to do that every single day, but I will, say, hey, I haven't heard from you, haven't submitted all this in. I'm worried about you. So I'm going to email you individually along with anything that I need to email the entire class. So that's going to go to your Lewis and Clark email. If you're not checking your email, you're not getting updates from me. And really anything I email, I'm just trying to help you out. Either a reminder or saying, hey, this didn't work. Try again. I'm never going to be mad about it. I'm just going to say, hey, can you redo it? Because Blackboard and I aren't always friends. I'm not a big, one of the other colleges I teach at is moving to Canvas, and I'm more than happy for that. I don't love Blackboard. Participation will be participating in the class, but that really means in class, any in-class, discussions or in-class writing. So not every single day will we have an in-class writing, but, a lot of times I will have a prompt or something, and I'll say, hey, upload this on Blackboard, and then we'll talk about it. That will be in-class writing. So we'll be submitting the in-class writing to Blackboard in addition to talking about it, so discussing. Today was easy. Today, you had to introduce yourself. Good job. Your ability to complete both of those is participating. So if you just log on to Zoom and never do anything, you're going to lose 50 points throughout the semester, because you really weren't here. You got to still be attentive. Even if we're on Zoom, you're going to be paying attention. Attendance policy. So this is going to be, if you haven't figured out already, very heavily discussion-based class. It's, today I'm talking to you, but it's mostly because we have the syllabus. Tomorrow will kind of be similar because we're talking in MLA format, but most days will be very much give and take, back and forth. I don't love hearing myself talk. I'm sure nobody else does, but I don't want to just talk to you the entire time. You're going to be bored. Probably won't learn anything. So it's going to be a lot of asking questions, answering questions, kind of thinking about what we read, thinking about what we're writing, talking a lot about that. So congratulations. If you're on Zoom, introduce yourself, you have started the class. So you have begun the class. Attendance policy, if you cease participation for at least 2 consecutive weeks, and really, because it's 8 weeks, that's like 4 weeks in 16-week time. It's like a month's worth of class. Or if you miss more than 5 classes, which is kind of a lot. If you do that, if you cease participation for at least 2 weeks or miss more than 5 classes overall, you could fail the class. Now, I understand there's a lot going on. We're still technically, in a pandemic. There's tons going on. Last semester, at the last month of the class, I had 2 students. They were mother and daughter. They both had COVID, and they were a mess. So I also want to say that, if you have any issues, please contact me. This is more like if I just didn't hear from you at all, and you just it's been a month and a half, and I haven't heard from you. Not a month and a half, but it's been like several weeks, and I haven't heard from you at all, and I never received an email, and I emailed you. You haven't logged on the Blackboard. You haven't emailed me. Basically, it's just, just abandon the class type of thing. But if you email me, and you don't even have to tell me specifics, say, hey, something's going on, and I'll talk to you about it. But there's a lot to do, and we only have 8 weeks. So it is going to be crucial that we try to stick with the class as much as possible. And attendance, I have meeting the first 15 minutes of class. So it's an hour and 15 minutes. If you miss, more than the first 15 minutes, you're missing most of the class. I get started right on time, 9:25, and I'm going to get going. Okay, I'm going to get going. If you're a little bit late, that's okay. I understand technology issues. Your internet wasn't working. Maybe there's a storm and your internet cut out. Your computer needed to be charged. You had an update that you didn't expect. I get it. I've been there. It's annoying. But that's why I kind of give that 15-minute wiggle room. So if you log on at 9:25 and you can't actually, you have a few minutes. But making sure that maybe you start your computer a few minutes early. My computer I'm on right now is so old. It's like 6 or 7 years old, and the battery doesn't even work anymore. If I unplug my computer, it will die in half an hour. I can't even shut it. It's basically like a desktop. So I have to, when I wake up in the morning, I get up at around 6:30 or 7 to feed my cat. I have to turn my computer on because it takes at least 20 or 30 minutes to actually get on. But it works. And as long as it works, I'm not getting another one. So it works fine as long as I'm patient with it. So if that's you, start your computer early. That's all you get. I just let it go and then I'm fine. I talked about Zoom earlier. I said I don't care if you necessarily share your screen or not. I know some teachers don't care. Thanks, Regina, for the reaction. I'm not getting another computer. It's gonna stay with me as long as I have it. Again, I don't care. So if you want to share your screen, I love seeing your faces. I would love if you actually like unmute yourself if you have the ability to. I love hearing people's voices. Please just if you have your camera on, just have some clothes on. I've never had an issue with that, but I just feel like I have to say it for some reason. I've heard a lot of horror stories about online learning, and I don't want to be part of that. And then again, like I said earlier, if you have your sound off, please have your sound off if you're not talking. And if you have a question, unmute yourself, interrupt me, put something in the chat. Totally fine with that. I talked about the grade breakdown earlier, but just to reiterate it, all the points are out of 1,000 total. So the complex book entries are worth 25 points each. So there's 8 of them. So they're worth 200 points altogether. First 2 papers worth 100, second paper worth 250. And an annotated bibliography, participation, and portfolio were worth 50 points each. So the majority of the grade for the class are these papers. Altogether, if you count the explications, that's over 60% of your overall grade. So that doesn't mean don't do anything else. If you only do the papers and nothing else, you're gonna get about 60% at best. So everything else matters. But everything we do is going to help you for the paper. So the complex book entries are for MLA format, annotation, analysis, that's a bibliography, thinking about your research, participation, everything we do every class period is going to be for the larger papers or a larger project we're working on at the time, whatever that is. And ideally, everything will build into each other. Okay. And again, you have to have a D on that final paper in order to pass the class. But everything's kind of like 90 to 100's an A. 80 to 89's a B, and so on and so forth. So it's not like you have, I'm not one of those teachers. I don't know if anybody has had teachers where you have to get like a 93 to be an A. I've never understood that. I've had teachers like that. I'm like, 90's an A. So 90's an A. The rest of this, a lot of policies. Don't cheat. I mean, I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. However, if you intentionally use other people's materials and you present it as your own. So other people's can be other students in the class, anything online. If you put anything in your paper, you must, and it's not yours, you must show where it came from. So citing. The first 2 papers, the only citing we're going to be doing is like the author we're talking about. We're not going to be doing any outside research. But for the 3rd paper, we will be doing a lot of that. So if you, or I've had people plagiarize complex book entries before. They went on like a summary website, and then they just copy and pasted the summary and they put it in their complex book entry. So this isn't just essays, it's complex book entries. I've had people in it plagiarize annotated bibliography before. Any assignment that you are showing that it's yours should be yours. And if it's not, you should show where you found that information. Okay, you should be able to show. That's why we're going to be doing so much MLA format, because it's so important to understand how to cite properly. If you do plagiarize, if you get caught, and best case scenario is you're going to get a 0 on that assignment without the ability to make it up. Okay, so if you plagiarize your final paper, that's a D below, you fail the entire class. Okay, so don't do that. So if it's your work, show it, have it in your own ideas, but if it's not yours, cite it. Okay, and then that's best case scenario is you fail the assignment. Worst case scenario is that I will report you to the college depending on the situation, and then they will deal with it on that level. I don't know, suspension, expulsion, something like that. I've never had anything get to that level, but I have failed plenty of assignments because of plagiarism. Okay, so don't do that. We have a lot of policies here. Sexual assault policy. So there's Title IX, which maybe you've heard of before, policy that prohibits any discrimination about, say, sex or gender, including sexual misconduct. If you want to know more about that, you can contact, I think, Renee Bauer. But if you report it, I also want to say I am a mandated reporter. So if any of you tell me anything, any type of harm that's going on, I am mandated to report it to the college. So anything type of abuse, anything that's going on, I have to report that. That's actually the law. And so I've had to report a few things, but it's really a safety issue. But if any type of discrimination is going on your end, make sure you tell somebody that's going on, and then that can be handled with appropriately. We don't want any of that to happen. If there is an emergency of some kind and the syllabus has to change, I will tell you that. I will show you as soon as possible. If you were taking any type of school classes in the spring of 2020, you already know probably one of the worst case scenarios from a semester being completely abrupted and uprooted. Hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing happens this semester. But if anything does, I will email you as soon as I know any information and kind of how I'm dealing with it. So check Blackboard, check email. Other things, accommodations. If there are any type of disabilities that any of you have that you need me to talk to me about, email me as soon as possible. The community college will be the person, if there is anybody who needs help, to contact me directly. So make sure you're talking to student development and counseling for assistance for that. But if there's anything, I can change a format of something, anything at all I can do to help you in terms of accommodations, please let me know, and I can talk to you about what we can do forward. So, but please let me know as soon as possible. Counseling, the college has specific counseling you can do. You can call, again, student development and counseling for that. They have, they're confidential. They have therapy, crisis intervention. If you have test anxiety, I have test anxiety, and when I was in college, I never knew I could talk to anybody about that. That would have been great. They probably did, but I didn't know it. That's 10% of the reason I went into English, is because I hated taking tests. And then I had classes where I still had to take tests. I was like, I hate taking tests. I'd rather write an essay where I have more time to do it. If you're a veteran and you would like assistance with that, there's a contact for that as well, including advising or financial aid. Diversity statement, I think this is really important. You can kind of read that a little bit. What I really want to focus on is disrespectful, any language or terms anybody has, not the college and myself, we're not going to tolerate it. So bullying, hateful ideas, violent language, belittling, racial slurs, any disrespecting or othering language will not be tolerated. So that goes for in the chat, that goes for inside, during class, in papers, in complex book entries, anything, not going to tolerate that. So very much respectful space. I've had students a long time ago, but I had one student, they were in like a peer review group, and another student was really calling the other person 11, like really belittling names. And the other student came up to me, cried at the end of class, and I had to, calm her down and talk to the other student. And I think I got her to talk to somebody at the college. It was a very strange sight, but it was just like years ago when we were in person, and she was just on peer review and she was not even talking to her classmates. She was on Facebook the entire time, not paying attention, just being really rude, implicitly and explicitly. So please be kind to your classmates. And if there is anything that happens, like if you're in a breakout session and somebody says something to you that's inappropriate or disrespectful, please let me know and I will handle that situation. And then virtual meeting, this is all kind of virtual meeting. If you have any concerns, again, please let me know. I've gone through the schedule a few times, but I want to reiterate that this schedule at the end of the syllabus, this starts on page 7, it's going to be extremely important. So anytime there is anything due, this will be on the schedule. It will be on Blackboard as well, but if you are confused, when is something due, this is where you should start. Okay, so I have it week 1, like this is not everything we'll necessarily do it in that order, but this is the rough overview. So today, syllabus and introductions. That's what we did. That's what we're doing right now. Tomorrow, Tuesday, June 8th, I'm going to introduce complex book entries more formally. I kind of did that already, but I'm going to do it more formally. And then we'll talk about MLA format, okay? And then that will help you for your first complex book entry on Wednesday, and so on and so forth. I have like work days. I mean, I might make changes to this. So if I get to know you all a little bit better and I realize that one class period might be better used for something else, I will change it, but I will let you know ahead of time. So if there's any due date changes, they will never be pushed back. So for example, if this is due Thursday, I will never make it Wednesday. I might push it back to Friday, but I'm not going to do that because we got to talk about it on Thursday. But it'll never be pushed back. It'll only be pushed forward. I had a friend who was taking a class, I think like last year, and she had a teacher that was like making the test a week ahead of time. I was like, absolutely not. When I was in college, when I was doing my teaching training, everybody always said, never make an assignment due before you say it's going to. Only push it back. That's just so unfair. So not going to do that. But if anything's going to change, I will definitely let you know ahead of time. And it would be one of those situations like if I was sick and I had to cancel class, maybe I would push something back a day. Or if we need more time, we don't have that much time. But if we needed more, maybe I'd I have a work day here. Maybe we need more time to focus on a specific skill. Maybe I'd get rid of the work day and focus on something else. But I would let you know. I'm not saying I will do that, but if needed, kind of we'll talk about it. So everything here is up until July, the very beginning of July. And then the rest of July, I will give you maybe a week or two before that hits after Independence Day. Having said that, that's a lot. I'm gonna get some water. Does anybody have any questions right now?
So as of right now, the only thing due this week is the commonplace, correct?
Yes, there's 2 commonplace book entries for
Okay.
Wednesday and Thursday.
All right, thank you.
And I'm gonna stop recording right now.